Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. I'm your host, Katie Woo, here with Bernie Miklasz, who pointed out Bernie did right before we started recording that the Cardinals have won three series in a row. They beat the Reds on the road, come back for a Bay Area, Northern California homestand, take 2-3 from Oh my gosh, 2-3.
That's all right.
I keep forgetting they're not there anymore. 2-3 from the No City A's and 2-3 from the San Francisco Giants, who came in on a heater to St. Louis. Winners, I believe, of their last 10 of 12, and the Cardinals said not so fast. They won on Sunday, beat the Giants 4-3. Sonny Gray was really good for 5 innings, ran into trouble in the 6th, but the Cardinals scored 4 runs in the 5th inning, and that was all they needed, thanks to a lights-out performance once again by the bullpen. Bernie, you and I will get into that. But first, let's just talk about how this series was, and really this homestand, going 4-2 here in the first week of September, an encouraging sign for this young Cardinal squad.
You know, it's a strange, not a strange season, but I understand there will be people watching us and listening to us, and thank you for doing that, by the way. That, you know, we're going to talk about the Cardinals getting back to 500 for the first time since August 13th, and winning 3 series in a row, and none of the series were really easy. They had to sort of dig their way out of a lot of holes, losing the opener to the Giants, for example. I think they lost the opener to the A's, that kind of thing. But they continue to battle. And I just want everyone watching us to know, I'm not saying anything about, oh, they're so great. Katie's not saying that. We know that that's not the goal. We know that, a franchise with the high expectations of the Cardinals, I mean, the standards are to win, get to the playoffs, make a run, which I don't think was possible this year, but I do get it. It's not like anyone's planning a parade because the Cardinals are now 500 again on September the 7th. But I do appreciate this team in a number of ways. And one of the things is they continue to, I think they now have 37 comeback wins this year. They're terrific in 1-run games again this year. Their bullpen is terrific again this year. There's some things, despite really shaky starting pitching and despite, an offense that, it's kind of. It's amazing to me that they're 72-72. It really is.
I agree, especially when you look at the lineups that they were rolling out this weekend, with no disrespect to anyone involved. But I mean, the Cardinals were without 4 starters, and no Contreras, who's finishing out that suspension. He'll be back on Tuesday. No Arenado, no Burleson, no Donovan. We'll have updates for them later on in the show. But you had a lineup that had Mason Wynn as your cleanup hitter, Jimmy Crooks, who has all of, 10 days of service, hitting 5th, Nolan Gorman at first base, Jose Fermin was at 3rd. Guys playing all out of position, and they played a really competitive, gritty series. I loved the Jordan Walker walk-off on Saturday night much more than I loved the Arizona State football game.
I was watching that, by the way.
We're not going to talk about it.
I was watching that. All I'm saying. Those cowbells got to them.
I'm not even going to.
Those Cowboys got to your boys.
Very disappointing. But for Cardinals fans' sake, Jordan Walker had that big walk-off on Saturday after really like 8 innings of a pretty boring baseball game, no offense. And that escalated very quickly. Love that Jordan was the one who essentially ensured the win. But the story for Sunday's game, to me, is the story that's been, I think, the most positive aspect of the team all season. It's the bullpen, Bernie. I mean, lights out again from Matt Swanson. Here are his stats from July 1st. I went ahead and looked this up. Not coming into today. Since July 1st, 18 appearances, 30 2/3 innings. He has a 1.47 ERA that got even lower after his performance today. 30 strikeouts, 5 total earned runs. I mean, he has just been excellent. That's nothing to say about Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien. Kyle Leahy didn't pitch today after a shutdown performance yesterday. But no matter who's in this bullpen, and this is what I talked to Ollie Marmol in our postgame session about, we've talked about the bullpen all season on how effective they are, regardless of who's in it. I mean, no, this is not the bullpen with Ryan Helsley, Phil Maton, Steven Matz. This is a bullpen that was expected to regress a little bit just based on the players that they got rid of. And really, I'm just seeing the bullpen continuing to dominate. Bernie, what are your thoughts on how this bullpen has been used in particular?
Well, I think, this is the second year in a row where the bullpen has been outstanding. It's been the best part of the team. And I think the manager and the pitching coach have a lot to do with that. Now, I know some people will never give Ollie Marmol credit for anything, and everyone's entitled to think as they choose. But when I see a team that's for the second consecutive year have an excellent bullpen, and have an excellent record in one-run games and outperform their run differential by a wide margin. It tells me that the manager is doing really, really well with the things that he can sort of control, in that knowing how to run a bullpen, also putting a priority on defense, because you got a pitch to contact starting staff. Your starting pitching is not very good. You're not going to score a lot of runs. So I think Ollie Marmol has done a lot of things right in terms of understanding there's only so many paths to victory for this team. It really is. The way they can win is very, very limited. So in that context, to run the bullpen as well as he has the last couple of years, and for them to have the great record in close games that they have had the last 2 years, I just think it's really impressive. You can only do with what you have as a manager, and let's face it, the Cardinals have had one of the worst starting pitching groups in the majors this year. Statistically, that's true. In the bottom 5, bottom 6, the offense has been among the league's worst, and the league has in the entire major since the end of May. So I don't know. I mean, yet they're somehow 72 and 72. I think the manager gets a little bit of the tip of the cap. I feel that way, and I never hesitate to give the manager, a lot of hell if I think he's screwing something up. But the bullpen, let's get back to because I'm taking more of an overview. The bullpen has been outstanding again. And I was looking at this after the game today in terms of where they rank in ERA. They're basically the same that they were before they traded Helsley, Maton, and Matz. I mean, they're still in the top 10 as far as bullpen ERA, bullpen performance, not letting late leads get away. They haven't lost a thing, even though they traded 3 guys that were held in high respect here in St. Louis at the time of the trade.
Correct.
That's really great stuff. It really is.
And then you see what has happened with Phil Maton in Texas has not been nearly as effective. Brian Helsley, it's been a disaster in New York with the Mets. You hate to see that for both of those guys who were good Cardinals. Obviously, lengths and tenure vastly different, but 2 total pros. And shout out to Steven Matz, who's crushing it. He's been absolutely lights out for the Red Sox in that trade. But I mean, this is something we talked about, Bernie, as soon as the trade deadline happened, the possible regression of the bullpen because it is so inexperienced. I mean, you look at the names there, the talent's there. The Cardinals have been high on Riley O'Brien since last year based on the metrics, what he was showing on TrackMan. This is a guy who didn't have a lot of innings, but the stuff was there. Matt Swanson is a huge success story for this Cardinals club this year based on what he looked like in 23 and 24 and the jump in stride that he made. Same with Kyle Leahy. I still don't think Kyle Leahy's future is in the bullpen. I think it is as a starter, and I hope he gets a fair shot in spring if that's what he wants. That's what the Cardinals want to see that. And then you have guys like Gordon Graceffa, who I think is very close to figuring it out. That stuff, that deceptive delivery, it will click. He's got to limit the hard contact a little bit more, but that will come with experience. Jojo Romero, he can close, and he has been mostly the only left-handed reliever since the trade deadline, minus a handful of games. And he's kind of embraced that role of uncertainty because when you are the only lefty, of course, you have no idea when you're going to be used because it's going to depend on matchup. So I agree with you. I think the bullpen management has been arguably Ollie Marmol's biggest growth since becoming the manager in 2022. Yep. It's fun as a beat writer because in the first half, we knew exactly how this was going to go. We knew who was coming in, what to look for. You had a 7th inning guy. You had an 8th inning guy. Like you knew when Maton was coming in. You knew when they were going to use Matz. You knew when Leahy was coming in, and Helsley obviously had the 9th. We didn't know how this was going to play out in the second half with those guys gone and the roles really undefined. So to figure this out and kind of watch how Ollie and Dusty go through these moves and then the vast conversations that we have pregame the next day about who does what, where they fit, how their stuff works. It's really cool to watch that evaluation and that analysis play out after a move. So now we're starting to see today. The big question was, is Riley O'Brien going to be able to come out and post back-to-back, especially night game to day game? Because we were looking at Leahy's not available. You already used Swanson. You already used Romero. Who's going to take the 9th? And we saw O'Brien warming up and we're like, you know what? That's something we didn't know about his usage. So now we can go from there. The fact that the manager and the pitching coach are essentially doing the same, except their decisions impact the win-loss column and they're finding success. If there's one silver lining for how the season has gone since the trade deadline, I think it's going to be the bullpen. It's a very finicky place relief pitching is, but everyone from the pitchers to the coaching staff has done a nice job in making sure that the Cardinals' biggest weapon has stayed that way.
No doubt about it. And Riley O'Brien intrigues me. First of all, Swanson is nasty, and he looks like a future closer to me. How soon that happens, but he's got the stuff to be a closer, and the stuff physically, where he can just dominate hitters, but also he's got that persona. He's got that presence on the mound. He's a big guy. He's fearless. He's confident. He looks like a closer. So and Romero has been really terrific this year. Once they Dusty Blake corrected a mechanical flaw in his delivery in late April or so, and Leahy's been a horse, and on and on and on. O'Brien intrigues me because he came here with the rep as a guy who can throw really hard, but other than that, no one really was sure what to make of him, and he's had a lot of injuries. And talking to Cardinals people along the way about him, the one thing that I was told by more than one person, which is, he's got the stuff. I don't know if he believes in himself. Part of it's because he's had injuries, and so he's used to sort of getting his heart broken because he's hurt again, or he'll have a bad outing, and it kind of crushes his confidence. I think what they really, really appreciate about him is the growth that they've seen in him. He handles that adversity better now. Like today, I mean, the ninth inning could have blown up on him. It could have, the first guy gets on, and it's there's been a couple situations where it could have blown up on him, but he keeps his composure. He's more confident now. Hate to use the cliche, but he trusts his stuff. He's got enough weapon. He's got enough to get out of any kind of jam. He can overpower hitters. He's more resourceful now. I think they've done a really good job bringing him along because he's an entirely different pitcher. Listen, as I mean, there's a million guys that can throw 98. That doesn't make you special anymore. Yeah, it can be an advantage. It doesn't guarantee anything. Hitters know how to hit the hard stuff now, but he's really evolved in terms of his confidence, his belief in himself. And that's a really good sign for him and for the Cardinals going forward.
Agreed, especially how volatile relief pitching is and pitching depth in general for this organization. Not exactly a strong suit, as you and I both know, Bernie. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll hear from our pals at DraftKings, and we'll get right back to you with some more Cardinals news and some injury updates. NFL fans, Week 1 just became your place to play free and grow the bag. DraftKings Pick 6, an official partner of the NFL, is here with Bag Builder, a completely free way to play for a share of $1 million or more in cash. Download the Pick 6 app, DraftKings' easiest way to play fantasy, using code FOUL. Enter for free. Just make 6 picks, more or less, on player stats for Week 1. No entry fee, no catch. Want an even bigger shot? Share your link with friends to add more cash to the bag and get bonus shots to win. As the player count goes up, so does the prize. Hit all 6 of your picks, and you'll be splitting a bag that's already at $1 million or more. Don't just sit back, get in for free, build the bag, and run it up. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use code FOUL, opt in, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in Bag Builder contest. Only perfect entries earn share of cash prize. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. All right, Bernie, we are going to have some Cardinals transactions. Alec Burleson should be activated Monday. Brendan Donovan, Nolan Arenado not too far behind. The corresponding move for Alec Burleson will be that Garrett Hampson has been designated for assignment, so we know that one. Wilson Contreras, that will be official tomorrow. Wilson Contreras will return from his suspension on Tuesday. Another move will have to be made at that point because the Cardinals you can't play with a full roster when a player is suspended, so the Cardinals have been playing with 28 instead of 27. This is big news for Burleson, and luckily he's only missed the minimum with the Cardinals that we're expecting. But, Bernie, when you're thinking about how Alec Burleson can finish this season, what would you like to see from him? He's had a great year.
Yeah, I mean, he's about 25% better than he was last year offensively. It's because he's swinging at more strikes. He understands the strike zone in terms of what he can hit in the strike zone. He understands what he can tee off on. Rather than just kind of make contact, so he's really matured in that way. He gets smarter by the day. I'm just going to be really general here. The thing I want to see is what we didn't see last year, him finishing strong. I don't know whether, he was a little tired towards the end of the season. I really don't know the root of that, but he really faded down the stretch. And I think he's much better equipped to handle that this year. I think he learned from that fade last year, late last season. And so I just want to see him finish strong, because it would raise some questions, I guess is the way to put it. Maybe that's fair or unfair. It would raise some questions in my mind anyway, that if for the second year in a row, he's built up a really good season and then all of a sudden just fizzles out. Last year was over the final 6 weeks or so. This year it would be, well, just the final month. It would raise some questions like, well, why can't he put a full season together? So listen, I'm in his corner. Don't get me wrong, but I want to see him finish strong.
I do too. And, I think Burleson, we talked about this a lot on the show. He is a key supplementary piece. No one needs Alec Burleson to be the face of the Cardinals, nor should he be expected to be, right? But he has power from the left side. He has a good contact bat. He's a more than serviceable defender. He's put in a lot of work to be at that place. Having players around Burleson will make him play up more. So credit to him. I think he and Herrera, when you think about the runway players, have really taken this opportunity and connected with it. You know what to expect from Alec Burleson next year, and he's established that for multiple seasons now. And you know that he can go out and repeat it. So I'd like to see him finish strong. I'm with you, Bernie. I think he will be a pivotal part of this club that has they have too many left-handed hitters. Burleson is not an issue, though, so I think it's safe to say that he has solidified himself with this club going forward. Donovan, Arenado, some status updates with them as well. So they have been in St. Louis working out. Nolan Arenado has been here all weekend. They are going to stay in St. Louis for the next couple of days, take some live BPs here at Busch Stadium against John King, who is also about to potentially begin a rehab. Brendan Donovan should start his rehab assignment on Tuesday. Nolan Arenado should start his rehab assignment on Wednesday in Springfield. That might change. If it does, I'll be sure to let you all know. The hope is that both players can be back soon. Arenado has a more definitive timeline. The Cardinals are looking at having him back before the next homestand, which is our final homestand. So you're looking at around September 15th before the 3-game set against the Reds. Talked to Nolan Arenado on Friday with the media group, and this is a guy that really remarkably has not spent a lot of time on the injured list. And he said if he had to go and redo it, this is just his 4th stint on the IL in 13 years. He said if he had to go over and do it again, I probably would have went on the IL when I first hurt my finger. So in case we've forgotten, Nolan Arenado is on the IL right now with a right shoulder strain that he sustained from overcompensating a right index finger strain. So he was holding the bat different, swinging the bat different, didn't want to put a lot of pressure on that finger. And what happened was he messed up the whole right side of his arm. So he said in hindsight, essentially, probably would have just took time when I hurt my finger. That was probably the biggest mistake I made. Usually you just play through things. That's what you're taught to do. But that was a mistake I made. I didn't really evaluate myself the proper way. He said the good news is this year hasn't felt great physically, but it didn't feel like old age injuries. I just got to get out there, show who I am, show that I'm healthy, and hit the ball hard again. That's what I'm going to have to do, and I'm really focused on those things right now. So obviously it's not been a good season for Nolan Arenado. He'd be the first to say that defensively he's still one of the best there is at the hot corner. Offensively took a major dip again, and the injuries didn't help. He missed, at this point, almost 6 weeks he'll have missed of the second half. And that's not what you want for a guy that the Cardinals are probably going to look at trading over the offseason again. But he will be back. He will have hopefully 2 weeks to finish the season strong. Donovan as well. It's going to create another log jam. What this means for playing time for Nolan Gorman, Thomas Sajaci, Nathan Church, not sure. We'll have that kind of figured out over the next week or so. But for this Cardinals team to get back to full strength over the next few days, that's really encouraging. Look, they're probably out of the playoff picture. They're 4.5 games out right now from the Mets, who have the final spot. But they have a chance to play spoiler. And the fact that they've been able to kind of just hold steady with a bunch of their starters out, that's encouraging to me.
Yeah, and they took a piece out of the Reds, who were hot and were having hopes of being that wild card team. I mean, the Cardinals won a series for them. Like the Giants, as you mentioned earlier, were on fire when they came to St. Louis, and they'd won 10 out of 11, I think. And the Cardinals certainly damaged the Giants' playoff hopes. So yeah, they have that underdog mentality. They've won 7 out of their last 10. Seven of the wins, or I should say 5 of those 7 wins have been comebacks. So if there's anybody wondered whether they have any inclination to pack it in, just say, well, it's just about over. Let's just get this thing over with. No, they're not doing that, and I admire that. And some people will say, well, that's what they're supposed to do. Yeah, I get it. But a lot of times teams don't do that when they're down and out. They've got no chance really to make the playoffs. So this team continues to battle and fight. I appreciate that. They grind away despite their limitations and their problems. I appreciate that. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. You know, when you got Wynn batting fourth today, JC fifth. I forget who was sixth.
Pedro Paz.
Yeah, I mean, all due respect to those fine gentlemen, but wow, right?
That's not where you want them. That's not where they put Mason Wynn, for as talented as he is, does not profile as a cleanup hitter by any means.
You know, Katie, I wanted to say one thing about the injuries. There's one thing I hope Ali Marmol changes for 2026, and I'm very confident he'll be back as a manager. I know you feel the same way. And he and I have talked about this, and I can't change his mind, so it's not up to me to change his mind. We've seen this now with two key players, Donovan, now Arenado. And by the way, this isn't a first guess or a second guess because I was saying it at the time, and I was saying it kind of loudly, actually. When you have guys that are clearly injured and they're only going to make it worse by playing, performance-wise and also at the risk of complicating their injury. It happened with Donovan. This guy had one little ailment after another. He was clearly playing in pain. He said when he finally went on the IL that the reason why he felt he developed a groin injury because he was overcompensating for the toe injury and a couple other injuries. And so then he had a long absence. Same with Arenado. I appreciate his candor saying, I should have taken care of this when I had the broken finger because it led to problems with my shoulder, overcompensating. I don't understand any manager that just has this attitude. It's like, well, if the player tells me he can play, if he's one of my veterans, he's going to play. Why? If shutting him down, a player down for 3 or 4 days or 1 10-day stint on the IL is going to take care of an injury issue once and for all, then you get it behind. The player would get it behind him. And then when he's returned, he's fresh, he feels good, he's ready to go. 2 times with 2 of their key guys this year, they just basically let the player call the shots, and the player succeeded in developing a new injury because of the first injury led to the second injury. And both of these guys had extended, as you pointed out, extensive absences where it could have been nipped in the bud. I just don't understand it. I won't be able to change Ali's mind on this. Maybe Chaim Bloom will, because frankly, it makes no sense. If a guy's hurt, he's hurt, right?
I think some of it is a testament to the players who don't want to come out of the game. You've seen that with Mason Wynn, right? Not 100% is not coming out of the ball game. When he went to go celebrate with Jordan Walker after the walk-off on Saturday, we should note that Mason Wynn flying out to greet Jordan Walker was one of my favorite wholesome moments of the season. I was like, Mason, oh my gosh, you are going to get hurt. That man is twice your size. But I digress. Like, Donovan doesn't want to come out of the game. Nolan, you have to drag him off the field to come out of the game. So some of it is the player's choice. But I do think, players, I admire them trying to grind it through. Almost every baseball player is dealing with pain. And it's something that's not right. That's part of the game. But it has cost them. And I think part of the reason why the Cardinals as an organization have been hesitant to place guys on the IL is because they just don't really feel like they have anyone in AAA that can come up and help, or on the 40-man roster, which is a bigger problem, as we have discussed plenty of times on the show. If you don't have depth, serviceable depth, I'm not saying an all-stars in your 40-man roster, but serviceable, usable, major league caliber depth, that is a bigger problem on the state of your organization. So that might also play into that point as well, Bernie.
Right. And real quick, one thing I will say, at least, they got a chance to take a long look at Gorman at third base, which I think was good because he started to play third base pretty well. He was really shaky at first.
It looks better.
Yeah, I kept telling everyone, well, can we give the guy a few minutes? He started like 26 games in the big leagues at third base before this recent stretch of a lot of games. Can we give him 15 minutes maybe? Everyone was like just destroying him online and everything. But they got a chance to see, can he play third base? I think the answer is, yeah, it looks like he can play third base. He'll be fine. No one's saying he's Arenado, but who the heck is, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I hear people say that, well, he's not Arenado. Wow.
Literally nobody
what a scoop that is. It's like, And then the other thing, they got a chance with Donovan May now. They got a chance to take a long look at Sajasi. There's some things you really like about him. There's some things he clearly needs to work on. But the point is that playing time for him was good. That was healthy. That was meaningful to play all of that time. So for a team that is in the runway, the reset, the transition, the whatever, you don't want to see players get hurt. But when they did get hurt, at least it gave them a chance to take a more extensive look at some of their younger players. And there's something good came out of it in that regard.
You're spot on, Bernie. I couldn't agree more. All right, we'll look ahead towards the Cardinals-Mariners thriller coming up in the next 3 days. First, a message from True Classic.
FT fam, designer clothes can be expensive, but we want our clothes to look good. We want to feel good. We want them to be affordable. And Kratz, if you tell me that I can wear a t-shirt that looks like it's tailored, but it's not actually tailored, and it just comes that way, then sign me up for True Classic.
Have to. You got to sign up for it because these shirts are soft, they're thin, they're durable, and they're very versatile. You can wear them to the gym. You can wear them out to a nice dinner. Let's get after it because these shirts are the real deal.
They are. Check it out. I've got one of the performance ones. It's a nice blue, fits well. I can go to the gym. I can go out. I can do FT in a shirt like this. FT fam, there's a reason why True Classic has sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers. And they are racking up over 200,000 5-star reviews. See for yourself with our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/foul to save. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
All right. The second to last road trip, the Cardinals will do 3 days in Seattle, their longest flight of the year, an off day in Milwaukee, one of my favorite cities, as we know, and 3 games against the first place Brewers. In Seattle, you'll get Miles Miklasz on Monday, Matthew Liberatore on Tuesday, Michael McGreevy on Wednesday. Those are all night games, specifically for you Central Time folks. Those games will start at 8:40 p.m. I've never been to Seattle. This will be my 27th stadium, so I'm almost to 30 out of 30. I'm super excited about this one. It's fun and a little bittersweet to say I'm running out of first major league cities. So I'm excited to go to Seattle and eat as much seafood as I can and maybe potentially watch some baseball. I will not be eating those weird cricket things though. That is something that I already know. Chip and Brad, for those of you who missed it, we had a show with Chip Carey and Brad Thompson, voice of the Cardinals television broadcast last Friday. Check it out. I can see them just enticing me with that offer. So that will be a hard no. That's also thankfully they did not do this to me at Coors Field when they tried to get people to try the Rocky Mountain oysters. That would have been a hard pass from me. Absolutely not. So,
well, especially if they didn't tell you what Rocky Mountain oysters really were.
Well, see, sometimes Brad specifically has a little mischievous look on his face, and I can recognize it. I'm like, there's an ulterior motive here. You're not going to get me. Thank goodness this broadcast booth has the good Ricky Horton to temper everything out because those two, Chip and Brad, are animals. So,
well, Seattle's one of my favorite cities in the world. Absolutely love it, adore it. I don't travel much anymore. I haven't traveled in terms of media for a long time. There are some things about it I miss. Going to Seattle is one of them. And I mean, the freshest, finest seafood and just about anywhere in the United States. I mean, and this is coming from a dude that grew up 20 minutes from the Chesapeake Bay, but no, it's fantastic. So yeah, don't eat any gimmick food. Don't fall for that. I appreciate their sense of humor. I really do.
They are very funny.
But no, you don't despoil Seattle by trivializing with all this practical joke food. You don't need to do that.
But the thing that I'm excited about, really, besides crossing off another ballpark off my list, is at T-Mobile Park, they drop hot dogs from the sky.
I think in
the 7th or 8th inning, they have these little mini parachutes, and the hot dogs fall from the top of the dome. That's my dream. Are you kidding me? Imagine just walking down the concourse and a hot dog just falls into your hand. Are you serious?
Pretty good.
What a time to be alive.
Seattle needs to be a regular postseason team.
Yes. Hey, you know what? Let's enjoy 500 while we can because the Seattle team is legit. Obviously, the Cardinals would love to mess that up, but they can bang, they can mash. So
yeah, and I'd say, in the Cardinals fans, let's say their wildest dreams, the 3 guys starting in the series for Seattle. That's what you hope the Heim Bloom regime will develop, where they're going to be able to line up 3 pitchers like that. I can't give you a year. I don't know how long it'll take. It could be sooner or later. It could be sooner because, Matthews and Liam Doyle, and, they might have 2 of those guys kind of in place, not at the major league level, but the expectation is they will be. But Seattle has just done an incredible job with starting pitching. And I look forward to watching these games because I haven't watched Seattle that much. But to me, they're an example of kind of where the Cardinals need to go, because there have been times where Seattle's offense, this year is different, but there have been many times where Seattle's offense has been kind of like, but they've had so much pitching to cover for that. And I hope that the Cardinals can do 75% of the job that the Mariners have done developing starting pitching.
Well, the good news here is Matt Pierpont, the organization's director of pitching hired over the offseason, came from the Mariners. So if you would like to see an indictment of Matt Pierpont's work, go ahead and check out the next 3 games. You'll probably like what you see. There was a reason the Cardinals targeted Matt, or I think they call him Pont. I don't know what it is about baseball where you can only have one nickname and it's 1 syllable.
In hockey, it's always Jonesy.
Yeah, you always have a Y at the end in hockey.
Right,
in baseball,
right.
It's 1 syllable, or it's like your initial and then a shortened last name. Like
Why
J-Ball.
is that? Why? Yeah. Why is that? That's interesting. The 2 different cultures, I guess.
Sports are weird, Bernie, but we love them.
But he would be in hockey. Like if he was working for the Blues, he would be Ponce.
Yep, exactly.
He'd be Ponce.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty sure.
All right. Well, we'll have some fun guests lined up over the next week. Bernie and I back with you as always next week as well. Cardinal Territory. We are rapidly approaching the end of the season. So thanks for sticking with us. We've had some highs, we've had some lows, but hopefully this was a weekend you were able to enjoy. I thought it was a very a strong showing for the St. Louis Ball Club. Bernie, anything you got coming up that you like to promote?
No. I want to say one thing before we go. I thought that the Hall of Fame induction ceremony was fantastic.
Agreed.
I thought Joey Jocketty, and I remember him running around the ballpark like a 7 or 8 year old. I was hoping that he was going to read his father's letter. Walt wrote that when he was literally dying, and it was when he got the call from the Cardinals. He was deeply moved, and he was crying. Walt, he was so happy because he knew he was going to the Hall of Fame. He really wanted to be in that Hall of Fame. And at least he knew that before he passed away, and he was so motivated. He had no energy. He was feeling very poor, and he insisted on writing that. And so I have this scene in my mind of, Walt Jocketty just laying in that bed, but full of life because he wanted to write this letter and put his heart into that. And I know actually his daughter helped out because Walt was very, very sick. But anyway, to watch that yesterday, and to see, Joey Jocketty, who did such a great job handling all that and reading his father's note and also adding his own remarks, Joey, and getting choked up. I kind of lost it. Yeah, I got to admit, because I love Walt Jocketty, and I kind of lost it. I thought that it was a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it touched everybody's emotions in there. And on a side note, I thought Al Roboski was fantastic. I really appreciate Edgar Renteria. Him kind of, battling through. He's always been very self-conscious about he doesn't speak English very well. As a player, he wouldn't give interviews because he was like embarrassed or something. And we would tell him, nobody cares, man. Nobody, you're good. You're good. So I thought everybody did, I thought they were 3 excellent additions, but boy, just Walt Jocketty, Joe Jocketty, that just pulled at your heartstrings. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So anyway, but thank God that Walt is in there, and I'm glad that the DeWitts got that done before Walt passed away. Anyway, that's all. I didn't want to let the weekend pass without mentioning that.
It was an exceptional ceremony. The Cardinals do a wonderful job with their Hall of Fame ceremony. I was actually able to attend this year for the first time. But honestly, shout out to the Cardinals coaching staff and the players who moved their media and clubhouse time so that most media members were able to go. Usually they coincide. And I was really moved by the history, the emotion. And it made me think, wow, I can't wait for St. Louis to get back to this. Right. The Red Jackets coming in. I mean, during the speeches, I was in the stands with some fans, and they were cheering along with different references and different plays. And it just reinforced, like, we know this, but to be in those events and to hear just how much this fan base appreciates good baseball. I can't wait for good baseball to return back to St. Louis. So congratulations again to Al Broski, Edgar Renteria, and of course the great late Walt Jocketty for their well-deserved inductions into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. And shout out to the Cardinals, who continue to do one of the best jobs in baseball in honoring their greats, and they have plenty to honor. So 2026 could be a big one. Number 4 will be eligible. He was here this weekend. Always good to see Yadier Molina.
Is it number 5 going to be eligible as well?
Number 5 as well. So they might have to move. I don't know if Ballpark Village is going to hold that.
They're also going to have to change their bylaws or whatever, because if right now they whittled it down, only one modern era player gets in. Listen, I'm on that committee, and I can speak for everyone in the committee when I say, don't ask me or us to pick one over the other. They both have to go in next year. They have to. The hell with your rules.
You can't screw the rules. Sorry, they're both going in.
Yeah, and by the way, I think the DeWitts are on board with that. But anyway, and then it'll be Wainwright after that. So there's going to be a couple powerhouse, couple powerhouse years in a row. This was just the startup, and man, Pujols and Molina at the same time. Wow.
Get excited, Cardinals fans.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
All right, another week of baseball awaits on the road. For Bernie Miklasz, I'm Katie Woo. Thanks as always for watching Cardinal Territory. We'll catch up with you soon.